data is actually in the system, you'll be able to go back and look at this recording, and it'll help you relate some of what we're learning today to your actual database. So that'll be beneficial. Anyways, as I was saying, I'm going to be switching between your site and the MemberClicks test site, just so we can see some things that are completely built out, like invoices and how to do searches on your members. So I'm going to go ahead and start in your site today. Can you guys see my screen just fine? Everything big enough? Awesome. So as soon as you log in with your credentials, you're going to be brought to our membership or to our home page, which is comprised of 3 different dashboards. If we ever need to get back to this home page, you can always select this home icon up here in the far left-hand corner, and that'll always bring you right back to this page. I just mentioned that this page is comprised of 3 different dashboard areas. The first is your membership dashboard. So that's this up here in the top left-hand corner. This is going to show you all of the different member types that you'll have and how your members are split up into those member types. So once I receive your database and it's imported, we'll have your member types listed below, and then we'll have the numbers of how many people are in each member type listed here on the right-hand side. Now, right now there's a lapse in an active column. There's also going to be a grace column in here once I've set up your member types, which I need your account settings and notifications to do that. So then I'll set up your member types. Unless you require approval for your members before they can become a member, in which case the pending column will show up. Otherwise, there's not going to be a pending column. But just to show you, if you're in here and you see like, oh, well, I have 1 member that's graced, which means they haven't paid their dues yet, but they're not yet expired, you can always click on that number, and it's going to take you to your profile list of that individual. So you can look more into who this person is. You can email them from the profile list. You can export this information. I'm going to show you guys all of the capabilities you have in your profile list at the end of the training. It's actually the last thing we're going to review together. But just really wanted to take a moment to show you that you can access your profile list from that membership dashboard by clicking any of these numbers. Going back to y'all's site, you also have the new members in the last 90 days. So that's that column in the right, or the box in the right-hand corner. We've just taken all of your members, and anybody that's joined in the last 90 days are going to show up over here on this right-hand side. That's just to help you point out exactly who's new within your system, so you can connect to.
Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Hey,
Hello?
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
That's so weird. Did I cut out?
Yeah, you went away.
That is so
we
very
couldn't hear
bizarre.
anything. Like, it was like dead silence. We thought you hung up.
That is so bizarre. Did you hear me talk about the new members in the last 90 days dashboard?
Yes, but with this, we will be able to set up different member types, correct?
Yeah, there's going to be your different member types will all be listed underneath. So just like the member clicks, see how they've got all their example member types in here?
Yes, perfect.
I just can't set those up until I have your account settings and notifications and database.
Okay.
So yeah, those will all be listed in here. And then I just mentioned that the new members in the last 90 days are just going to be new members that have joined in the last 90 days. With your event dashboard, this is going to show you your past event attendance, as well as the upcoming expected event attendance. In both of these areas, it's going to list up to 3 event names, the date that those events were held on or will be held on, and then how many people attended or how many people have registered so far. This is going to pull from your event registration forms, which we're going to talk about on our 3rd training. So this is all about those forms, pulling over from those forms. Lastly, have our financial dashboards. That's comprised of our aged receivables. Aged receivables is going to show you how many outstanding invoices you have, by how many days, and how much money. So here it says current, 1 to 30, meaning that the invoices are 1 to 30 days past due, 31 to 60, meaning the invoices are 31 to 60 days past due, and so on. And then this will adjust to how much money is owed within those areas. It's going to create a bar graph. So just to show you on my MemberClicks test site, if I come down here, this shows us that for our tests that we've created, there's $1,900 in outstanding dues that are 91 plus days old. And there are $180 overdue for invoices that are 1 to 30 days past due. And then over here in the right-hand box, the sales over time graph, this is going to allow you to filter which revenue accounts you want to look at. So I can select my revenue account. Let's say we wanted to look at the donations that have come through. I think there's the donations in here. I might have made that up. Okay, so, oh, no, here we go. So we can look at the donations that have come through. I can apply that filter, and that's going to adjust my chart and show me how much money came in donations-wise per month. So it's going to show us exactly how much money came in for donations per month. I think this is a super helpful resource. You can look at how much money came in maybe for events or those donations, and during the months that you didn't collect a lot of money for that revenue account, you could always know that you might need to up your advertising or your marketing. Or for the months that you brought in a lot of money, you can always capitalize on that action and really push your members to make sure they're coming to your conferences during that time.
Okay.
Any questions on this homepage of the product?
Okay, I do have a question about like the invoicing and stuff. We have somebody off-site that does the invoicing. Will he be able to have access to this?
He sure can.
And just the financial part?
Mm-hmm. We can give him permission to just the financial part.
Perfect.
And I'll show you how we can do that. Okay. Any other questions before we keep moving forward?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is your settings tab and your account settings. You will not need to visit this page too often. However, once you graduate and you start calling into the help team for questions, they're going to ask you for, well, let me go back to yours. They're going to ask you for your account number. You don't have to write it down or memorize it. It's always on this account settings page, right underneath your account information right here. This is also a great place to keep track of how many profiles you've used. So you guys have 2,500 custom profiles available and 7,500 prospect profiles available. You can always jump in here and see how close you are to meeting that custom profile line or limit. And if you see that you're getting super close to it and you have a lot of lapsed members that haven't paid dues in years, you may want to look at moving those prospect or into the prospect category if you have a lot of prospect accounts available, or you can always delete them. Deleting members in our system is technically like archiving. So even if you delete somebody and 10 years later they contact you and say, hey, just kidding, I really do want to be a member, can I rejoin? You can always find their profile that maybe you deleted years back and restore them. So, and then I'll just apply all the information from your account settings document once I receive, just as far as setting up your time zone, your membership year. I'm always going to leave this member number toggled on because it's a great system attribute to keep track of members by, but we can hide the member number in your member's profile later on if we want to, and I'm going to show you how to do that. If you guys are using QuickBooks, I'm going to leave QuickBooks toggled on. If not, I'll toggle it off. This notification, okay, so I can go ahead and toggle that off. This notification email, so we're going to send automatic notifications out from MemberClicks when you want. Obviously, your members are going to want to respond to those emails, and you don't want them just coming back to MemberClicks because we don't have an email for you. So instead, we're going to put your email in here, and that's the email that those replies will be sent to. And lastly, just some billing contact information up here in the top right-hand corner for MemberClicks to make sure we've got the most recent billing contact info on file for you. Okay. Any questions on account settings?
No.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to dive a little bit into the financial part of things. So this is, you could always share this video with your financial individual who might need to know some of this info, or I can schedule some time with that person and do like a 30-minute training just on this piece. But we're just going to be working under the financial tab and invoices. This is automatically going to bring you to your invoice list. Now you guys don't have anything in here yet because you don't have any invoices created. So that's the time I'm going to go back to my MemberClicks test site. I'm just going to go to financial and invoices. So I mentioned previously, this is where all of your invoices that are created in your system will show up. So even if something has been paid or voided, if it's open or there's a partial payment, they will all show up in here no matter how old they are. These are all listed by invoice number, the type of invoice, meaning is it a dues renewal? Did it come from a form? Is it a credit memo? First name, last name, and organization. We can search by statuses, whether it's been paid, open, partial, I mentioned those a second ago, the total amount, the due date, and then we've got some actions items, like we can view our invoice and we can void. Now we can search our invoices by using the search bar in the top right-hand corner. We can search by first name, last name, organization, or invoice number. I know my friend Addie has a bunch of test invoices in here, so I can search by her name and it's going to show me all the invoices for her. If I wanted to further sort this, I can use these buttons right up above our list. So if I only wanted to see Addie's open invoices, I'm going to select the open button, and it's going to show me how many open invoices Addie has. I can also put these in order. So if I wanted to numerically order these by how much is due, I can always do it from least amount to greatest amount, or I can click that again and it's going to rearrange this from greatest amount to least amount. Okay. I can also sort by date. So you can click on any of these columns to sort this information. You can do invoice number, which makes a little bit more sense. If I wanted to view an invoice for Addie, I can just select the invoice number and I'm going to click on it. Now this is exactly how your invoices will look, except for it'll be your logo in the top right-hand corner, and it'll be your association information in this left-hand corner. Everything else is pretty much going to appear the same though. So for membership, we have membership options. She paid for one period and it was $100, and then it'll show the next due date on the invoice as well. I want you to note this note section on the invoice because I'm going to show you where you can add this info in. And then, do you guys oftentimes receive offline payments?
Yeah, we get checks.
Perfect. So if somebody ever gives you a check, let's pretend like it was Addie and this is the open invoice you search now and you're ready to apply that payment. You're just going to open this invoice up. You're going to pay this invoice.
Okay.
Now, you wouldn't add credit card information. You're going to use your drop down and select offline payment. Okay. And then you'll be able to say, okay, I received a check. You can put how much. You would put the check number in or some type of reference number, and then you'll submit that offline payment. And at that time, the invoice will show paid. So it's super easy peasy to do that. I'm going to go back to the invoice list by selecting my invoice list icon up here. A couple other really cool things that we can do in here. Let's say that Kinsey called me and says, Adrian, I never received my invoice. I don't know where it went. I just haven't received it. She could always find it in her profile on the membership side, but maybe you have some members that aren't technically savvy. You can always just tag that invoice and email it to them. Okay. And just resend it. If they have a couple of emails that they want it sent to, you can always add some additional recipients.
Okay, that's nice.
You can also create PDFs and print these off if you want to send them snail mail. And then you can void invoices from here as well.
Okay.
Any questions on the invoice list?
No.
Okay, awesome. Now the next thing I'm going to look at is invoice templates. This is going to be my first, I think, and only piece of homework I'm going to assign from our training today. So invoice templates are a little bit a little bit of a complicated, shouldn't say complicated, so there's a little bit of a different mindset when we're thinking about invoice templates. When I hear invoice template, I automatically think it has to do with how the invoice looks. It has nothing to do with that. I really wish we could change this to read invoice notifications, because it actually has to do with notifications coming out from the system. Now, Amy, or you guys know that, you completed that notifications document that you sent to me that gave me the verbiage that's going to go out. Now, those only go out for dues renewals. So we've got a dues renewal bucket in our system, and that dues renewal, those notifications only have to do with when dues renewals come up. So then the next question is, well, what about the other types of invoices created in the system? How do we let members know that those invoices have been created? How do we remind them to pay them? How do we let them know, that we've received payment confirmation? So that's where invoice templates come in. So you guys are going to ask yourselves, what type of invoices are you going to be making in MemberClicks? You'll need a new member notification invoice template to go out, because we're going to assign on our membership application to use the new member invoice template so that notifications go out saying, hey, you've signed up with us as a member. We're super excited to have you. Make sure you pay your invoice. We can set up some reminders, and then we can also set up the payment confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice template, and we can call this new member. We're going to set a net due date. 30 days is typical. And then you can put in some footer information. The footer info is the notes section that I pointed out on the invoice.
Okay.
In addition to that, you're going to come down here to the bottom, and you're going to set up any notification that you want to use or you want the system to go out. So if you want your new member to get a notification letting them know that an invoice has been created for them, you would need to turn on the new invoice email. It tells you exactly what this is for. And then you're going to edit the email, and you have to add some verbiage in here. It's timed out on me. If you don't edit the email and add verbiage, then a blank email is going to go out, and that doesn't look professional. So make sure you're adding in some type of subject, and then whatever verbiage you want to go out in regards to letting them know this invoice was created. Now you can use the merge data tool, which is at the bottom of the editor, and you can select invoice or profile data to merge into this email. So you could say, hi, and then merge in their first name. We've received your most recent form submission or membership application. You owe a total, and then you can merge data amount due. You can also do the invoice date, invoice data was created, invoice due date, invoice number, invoice total. So there's all these different merge data tools that you can add in. And then you're going to want to do this for each notification. So if you want a reminder email set up, a past due email set up, and then this payment notification email set up.
So if they pay, these notifications automatically, they won't send, correct?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So you guys will just ask yourselves, you're probably going to want to set up an event notification or an event invoice template. If you guys receive donations, you might want like a miscellaneous invoice template in case you ever need to create some type of ad hoc invoice, which is just like an invoice created by you guys for a miscellaneous amount or a miscellaneous thing. So you guys will want to go ahead and create those and get those set up. In addition, I am going to create a default invoice template. You guys do not want to mess with this at all. I'm going to use this for your dues renewals. I do not need any of these notifications set up because the notifications are coming out of that separate bucket, but I still have to use an invoice template for the dues renewals because I need something to tell the system when the invoice is due, and then if there are any notes that we need to put on the invoice. So if you guys need to add some remit payment to information, this is where you might want to do it to go out with dues renewals. And then other than that, I'm just going to set this as the default template. The default template means that if you guys ever forget to choose an invoice template, it's going to resort to this one, which is way better for an invoice to be created and no notifications to go out rather than an invoice not being created at all, right?
Right.
So this is the default. So none of these notifications, I'm going to put in here, does not need notifications. However, you can add footer info or notes info in here if you want to.
Okay.
Does the concept of this make sense? Do you guys feel like you can dive in here and complete these?
To a point, yes. It seems pretty easy to do.
Okay, I'm in my follow-up email today, y'all, I'm gonna send some resources. So if you need a refresher on this, I'm gonna send it back to you, or of course you'll have the video that I'll send to you as well.
Okay.
Then we've got invoice settings. I'm also gonna have you guys complete this as well. So that's this third icon. Right now we're still under financial and invoices. We've looked at the invoice list, we've looked at invoice templates, now we're looking at invoice settings. You're just gonna upload your logo in here. That's the logo that shows up on the invoice, and then throw your organization info in here. And once again, that's just the org info that shows up on the invoice in that left-hand corner.
Okay.
You can also set what invoice number you want to start at. Usually we're going to create some test invoices together before you launch. So it's always great to have those test invoices as like number 1, 2, and 3, because it's easy to point out which ones we're testing. And then when we get actually ready to launch and start creating invoices, you might want the system to start at 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever you want to start at.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Then we've got your revenue accounts. So once I have a chance to look at your account settings document, your revenue accounts should have been added in there. I'm going to add those for you. If you ever need to add a new revenue account, all you have to do is select Add New Revenue Account. You'll put in the account name and complete the information. You can put in a description. If it's used for dues, you'll toggle dues. If it's not, you'll leave it toggled off, and then you'll save. And then lastly, you'll have your payment processor. Your payment processor is going to be Moolah. And
that's all you guys use, right, is Moolah?
Yeah, we can use authorize.net, but with Moolah, I think you were given some type of discount through the sales process.
Okay. I didn't know if you would take like PayPal or anything, so.
No, we don't integrate with PayPal at all.
Okay.
Basically, you guys don't need to do anything with your payment processor. Once this information's been completed with Lauren, who's our payment processor, or our Moolah representative, I should say, once that info is completed with her, she'll build out the gateway, and she's going to take care of everything in the system.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah. All right, before we keep tracking, any questions on financials at all?
No, seems pretty self-explanatory.
Okay,
For
there
now.
is good. Yeah, once you dive in here, you guys will have all kinds of questions, and I expect that. Sometimes in the beginning, it's like you don't even know what questions to ask quite yet. So, one other thing I wanted to point out is the transaction report. So that's under financial, but transactions. You guys have the ability to pull transactions from a certain date to a certain date. You can filter these transactions by revenue account, by transaction type, by payment type, by credit card type. You can also search for particular transactions. So this is actually going to be where your transactions are split up into debit and credit. So like somebody owes you $200 and then the debit's created for $200 once they pay.
Okay.
So this is broken out into a little bit more financial detail. You can export this to a CSV, and it can help you. I don't know what type of financial system you're using, but it can help you reconcile the accounts, make sure everything matches up in your financial system to MemberClicks.
That will be to Frank. He is our financial person, so.
Got it. Perfect. All right. And I know we're skipping around tabs today, so to do a quick review, we've looked at our home page. We've looked at the different dashboards that make this up. We've looked at our settings and account settings tab. We've looked at what these things do in here. We've looked at our financial tab and invoices. We looked at what these things in here can do, as well as all the icons in the top right-hand corner. Now we're going to go into our database tab, and we're going to look at our attributes for just a second.
Okay.
So our system is comprised of 3 different types of attributes. The first one is built-in attributes. And to back up for a second, an attribute is just a piece of information that you've collected on your member and saved in their profile, just something that helps describe them as a member. So my name is Adrian. My name is an attribute of who I am. Back to what I was, so, and you're going to hear this word attribute. I'm probably going to say it a million times throughout our trainings together because it is such a huge kind of theme within our system. So built-in attributes are the first type of attribute. That's what you see right here on my screen, this first section. Built-in attributes are just the pieces of information that we've seen, across the 1,600 plus associations. We've just seen those associations collect these fields of info on their members. So we just made them built-ins. We know you're collecting things like their name, their contact name, their email address, their physical address, their phone number, and then possibly their organization. We can't delete any of these, but we can modify them to match your database a little bit closer. So once I receive your database, I'm going to look and see what information, what columns you've collected. And then I'm going to dive into these attributes to change them to fit what you've collected. So let's say that we want to look at, let's say we need to change the way we're collecting the names of your members. I can dive in here and edit these settings. And let's say that in your database, you're collecting prefixes and suffixes, but you're not collecting middle names. And I'm just going to turn these on and then save. So that's just one way that I can make some edits to these fields. For email address, physical address, and phone number, I can collect up to 5 fields of information, meaning I can collect up to 5 email addresses for one member. I can collect up to 5 physical addresses for one member. I can collect up to 5 phone numbers for one member. So if we needed to add these labels in, which I'm going to look at your database and determine which, if we need additional fields of emails, addresses, or phone numbers, I'm going to dive into each of these. And let's say that you never collected your home email, your member's home. It's just like a main. And then I'm going to add these labels. So maybe you've collected a secondary, maybe you have a tertiary, maybe you have a personal, maybe you have a professional.
Okay.
I'm going to build out any of those additional emails that you've collected on that member. And you'll notice once we reach that limit, we can't change it. Built-in attributes are going to talk directly to forms. So we may ask questions on forms, and you may want to build out something that you're asking a little bit more of information on, meaning like you, a year from now, you're like, man, we really need our members' professional email addresses because that seems to be what they respond more to. If we want to start collecting that information on your membership application, we'll need to come back to this area and add it to your email labels. And then that's going to show up in your forms. That relationship will be a little bit more evident when we get to our forms training, but I just wanted to introduce that kind of that thought process here.
Okay.
So these are those built-in attributes. I told you we have 3 different types of attributes in the system. So the second type is system. System attributes cannot be changed.
Okay.
They're always going to be the same things. You can look at the fields in a member's profile and you can update the fields, but like it's always going to be asking things like their member type, their expiration date, their join date, their member number. These tools or these attributes are what the system uses to track your membership period and how much they owe in dues. So that's why we can't edit what we're collecting, but I'll show you where we can view those fields. And then lastly, we have custom attributes. So after I take a look at your database, I'm going to dive in here and create some custom attributes, which are just going to be things that you've collected on your members that I wouldn't have known you were collecting on your members. So if we were collecting your member's birth date, we would need to create a custom attribute for birth date. You guys have the ability to come in here and add these custom attributes as well. So same thing, if a year from now you're like, man, we really need to collect our members' favorite color for some reason. You'll come in here, you can add a custom attribute. And for our example, we could say favorite color. And then you're going to choose how you're collecting this info. Now, the way we're choosing to collect the information is the type of field that's going to show up on our form. So there's that attribute form relationship again. And once again, we'll look again at this in our forms training. But some of these are pretty intuitive. Like if you're asking a question about countries, the country option is going to be a drop down of all the countries that they can choose from. Date and time is going to be just the date, like some type of date field. A file will give your member the opportunity to upload a file, such as their resume. An image is going to give them an opportunity to upload an image, such as their headshot or logo, and numbers, and just a number field. Selections that will give you or give your member a drop down of the different options they can choose from. This is really the best attribute to have in our system because it's the easiest to search by. So like if you're looking for a favorite color, instead of just somebody being able to type in whatever they want to, you could give them the options to choose from like yellow or orange or red or purple or blue, and then you could have another category. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then text box is just an open text box where they can write whatever they want. That's the worst attribute to have in the system because it's almost impossible to search by. Because it's like when you're doing the search, you have to like randomly type in things until you get something to pop up, and everybody can spell things differently. And then website, it would be just a website field.
Okay.
I threw a lot of information at you guys on this. Is overall, does the attribute kind of the thing make sense and how it's going to work in the system?
For now, yes.
Okay. Now these attributes, and I'm not going to throw this at you guys for homework tonight just because we need to have your database imported really before I can, but your members will have the ability to view their profiles and view other members' profiles on the front end. You're going to need to tell the system what your members can like edit, what they can see, and what they can't see or edit in their profile. For example, they'll be able to maybe edit their email address, but you probably don't want them to be able to edit their expiration date or their member type, because those are the system attributes. So we're going to look at profile owner attribute security next time together. We're also going to look at attribute security. Attribute security is what your members can see in other members' profiles in the directory. So we'll revisit this together later on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. In addition to that, I'm going to try to hit a couple more things real fast. Member types are how I'm going to create your member types for you. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to have to put in your default account settings and then your default notification settings. Once those are in, then I can build out the member types. The reason I have to have these done first is because these will apply to every member type I create moving forward. So if I don't have your account settings or notifications correct, we're in trouble. So that's why I have to have these things before I can move forward in the system. Just to show you what I'm going to do, once I have these things added, I have an example member type in here, but I'm going to come in here and create member types for you. The settings will list whether this member type requires approval or not before somebody can become a member, what custom attributes apply to them. So if you have some custom attributes that apply to one member type and not to another, we can decide and determine which attributes are going to show up in which profiles. So that way you don't have a bunch of excessive information in a member's profile that it doesn't apply to. That's rare, but that's cool that we can do it, I think.
Okay.
I'm also going to determine which invoice template we're using, which payment processor we're using, which revenue account the dues renewal money is going into. My account settings are going to determine whether this is a period of time, meaning anniversary or date-based expiration, what the grace period is, and then down at the very bottom, how much money the membership costs. So if you guys ever have to add a member type, I would always ask you to talk to me first or get with our help team if you guys have graduated. But if you need to change member type pricing, it's as simple as diving in here, coming down to the bottom and changing what price is in here. So that's something you guys could do.
Okay.
And then before we launch, I'm going to have you guys take a peek at these notifications that'll be in here just to make sure that they look good. That's going to be on our Go Live checklist, and I'll revisit that with you, but just to go ahead and point it out, we'll just edit notifications, and all those notifications will be in the system at that time.
Okay.
Okay. So I have another big concept to throw at you guys. How are you feeling with all the information I've thrown at you so far? It's okay?
Yeah, it's a lot.
This one's a lot of info. The next one I always go to content because content's a pretty easy training.
Okay.
It'll definitely help you guys watching this recording a couple times. So one other concept I want to go over with you, you talked about, you know, your financial guy. What was his name, Frank or Fred?
Frank, yeah.
Frank. Talked about how Frank is going to need to have some special permissions in the system so he can see financials. So I'm going to throw a weird concept at you. In our system, we've got member types, right? We've talked about the member types we're going to create for you guys.
Right.
Every time I create a member type in the system's going to automatically create a mirror image of that member type called a group.
Okay.
So the member type and the group will be called the same thing. My member type will control the length of my membership period and how much I pay in dues. The group that I'm in will determine the permissions I have in the system. That's on the member side of things, like member-specific content, and it's also on the administrative side of things, like the financial component.
Okay.
So what we can do is we can add additional groups. So they doesn't necessarily have to be a member type, but we can just add some more groups, and we can create a financial group. So you'll notice we've got groups in here. Obviously, right now we don't have your member type groups in here because your member types aren't created, but I can go ahead and add a new group called financial.
Okay.
And I can save. Now what I can do is go back into my database and go to admin permissions. I wish this was called group permissions because it is group permissions. That's what this is.
Okay.
And I can give my financial guy permission, and you'll notice it's got all these different segments of like what they can access. Boom, there's the financial admin.
Okay.
So we can give him access to only the financial component.
Okay.
The reason that member types and groups are separate is because I can only be in one member type at any given time. I can be in multiple groups at any given time. So if Frank was a member and owed you guys member dues, and he also needed the extra permissions for the financial piece, he would be in his member type group and the financial group. We couldn't put him in a member type. He couldn't have two profiles, one a financial profile and one his member type profile. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's another big theme in here that we're gonna come across a couple times. I usually wait until a later training to introduce it, but since you asked that question, I thought it kind of played in well. So cool, okay. We're almost done with our training. Couple more things I want to throw at you guys is how you're going to search your members and what you can do to those lists of members that you search with. So if I use my search bar up here in the top right hand corner, we can search your members by first name, last name, organization, and email. So if I put in 3 letters, it's going to automatically start searching the database. If those 3 letters apply to more than one profile, you're going to see a big drop in here. For example, you'll see multiple people that are in here under the same name, or under, if it applies to their name, their email, their organization, whatever it applies to, you'll see those drop down. Once you find the profile that you want to look at, so let's say we were searching for Amy and Amy showed up, obviously, we can click on her name. It's going to bring us to her profile. This profile is organized in a specific way. This big box in the left-hand corner over here, these are all those built-in attributes that we talked about, those things that we know you're going to collect on your members. This box over here on the right-hand side, these are those system attributes, those things that we know the system needs to keep track of your members' membership period.
Okay.
Down at the bottom, we're actually going to have a summary. We're going to have the built-in attributes, and then underneath here, once custom attributes are created, we'll have a list of all the custom attributes.
Okay.
So just to show you in MemberClicks, this is my little fake profile in here, or one of my fake profiles. Here's, oh, whoops. Here's my built-in attributes. Boom. There's my custom attributes.
Okay. Okay, that's cool.
If you want to make edits to any of these, all you have to do is hit this edit button. And now all of these fields are editable, but that word. Once you're done, you can hit save. From your member's profile, you can also view any invoice that has ever been created for them under the Invoices tab, any form submissions that they have ever completed, any committee or e-list. Now, these are social community components we're going to talk about later on. I'm not going to go into that today.
Okay.
Message history is going to show you any message that has ever been sent to this individual from MemberClicks. And then they have the ability to view all these tabs in their profile as well. So one of the things that has to do with that is they can set their contact preferences. They can also unsubscribe from your emails. If anybody ever unsubscribes, you can always resubscribe them. Like if they're emailing you guys saying, I'm just not getting your emails, maybe they accidentally unsubscribed. If they did purposefully unsubscribe, they're still going to receive your form notifications and membership renewals. No matter what they've unsubscribed from, they're still always going to receive those types of notifications. And then attributes brings us back to just the built-in and custom attributes that we'll see in here.
Okay.
Now, let's say you want to make a profile list that you're going to take some type of action to. We're going to go to the profile list, which is the big green button in this right-hand corner. And this is going to bring a list of all your members, which right now is just
right.
2. So let's say we wanted to do a search and find individuals, find a particular group of individuals. We've got this advanced search button up here in the top left-hand corner that I can click. I can search my members by any attribute in the system, including built-in, custom, or system. So, for example, in MemberClicks, if I go to the profile list, there's more attributes in here, so it'll make it a little bit easier to visualize. If I use my advanced search tool, whoops, and I search by attribute, you'll notice I can search by, here are all the custom attributes, favorite ice cream flavor. This is a selection set, so they had to choose whether it was chocolate, vanilla, swirl, or strawberry. So I can see all of the people that said their favorite ice cream flavor was swirl. We can add additional criteria. So what if I only wanted to know, in this example, maybe I only cared about a prospect member type that's favorite ice cream was swirl. Then I can search by multiple criteria and it'll bring me a list of only the prospects who said their favorite ice cream flavor was swirl.
Okay.
You can also search by form submissions, who completed or who did not complete a submission of, and then this will be all your forms in here. There's a little bit of an event management piece where you can mark whether people no-showed to events, came, didn't come, didn't register. So maybe you're looking for the people that canceled in some of your events. And then down at the very bottom, your default search will always search your active and graced members. If you want to include lapsed, you'll have to come down here and click lapsed. You can also search by people that have deceased. And then you can also do a search for only deleted profiles. So I mentioned earlier when you delete a member's profile, it's really like archiving it. You can always search deleted profiles and restore them.
Okay.
Now, once we get this list, once we've done that search and we've gotten that list of people we want to take an action to, we're going to tag all those members. We can either tag all the people on this page, which will be 25. If that number 25 exceeds this page, we're going to want to make sure we tag all of the people on all pages. And now my actions drop-down box over here has become available. I can mass undelete or mass delete people this way. I can remove from groups and add to groups. So if you have a board of directors and you want to add 12 people to that board of directors group, you can tag all 12 of those people and add them all to that director group.
Okay.
You can change member types. You can change status. So you can always override the status in the system. Let's say somebody had a death in the family. And, you know them personally. You don't want to have them lose their member status with you guys because of that. So instead, you can just override their status to tell them, stay active. You can create an ad hoc invoice. That's going to be like any type of miscellaneous invoice. The best way to describe it is you guys had a conference, you sold t-shirts, and you've got a ton of t-shirts left over. You can open that up to your entire membership and say, hey, we've got all these t-shirts open. Anybody want to purchase any? Maybe Bob says, hey, I want to purchase 5 shirts. You can create an invoice for him and put, 5 line items. Each line item is 25, each shirt's $25, and you could say large shirt. And then you would select the revenue account that money goes into, and you could do that for, the 5 shirts he wanted. You would choose the invoice template, which once again, that determines the notifications to go to Bob, reminding Bob to pay this invoice or letting Bob know that he now has an invoice for those 5 shirts. And you'd select your payment processor.
Okay.
So this would be kind of like a one-off invoicing situation. We can export. So this will allow you to make an Excel document of all of those members, maybe that you want to look at a little bit closer. My favorite part about this is you get to determine what you're pulling into your export. So if you don't need their address and all this information, then you can just choose the exact columns you want to pull over into your export.
Okay.
That kind of takes out some of the noise. Once you've exported those profiles, it's not just going to automatically download to your computer. You'll need to go to reporting and exports. And you'll see it listed in here. Right now, there are no exports, but you'll see it listed in this area.
Okay.
And then you can download the file.
Okay.
Lastly, you can contact. This is going to bring your members into our contact center. This is how you can send emails. Now, it's going to bring over the people that have email addresses in their profile. For example, we had 3 people tagged, only 2 people came over. That's because one of those profiles was mine, and I don't have an email address in there. This is where you can develop those emails and send them to your members. So you guys will be using this a lot. We're going to spend some time on our content training reviewing this together.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into this anymore because I know I've thrown a lot at you guys today.
Yes.
Okay, so that completes everything. Now, one more thing I want to mention, and I don't have it on my screen because I'm logged in as me, but for you guys, when you're logged in as you, you're going to see a little teal a little teal question mark down here in this bottom right-hand corner. Okay. Clicking on that will take you to our resource center. Now, there's going to be, it's going to look like this. Hold on one second. It's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. You guys will always need to choose MemberClicks documentation, which is this middle button. You are not, the classic documentation is our previous product, and it looks nothing like what you guys are working in. In fact, it confuses the heck right out of me. So I know it would confuse you guys. So always make sure if you see the word classic in anything, ignore it. Like if you do a search, sometimes classic stuff will pop in there. If you see classic, just ignore it. Make sure it's only MemberClicks documentation. And this has videos and articles that I'm going to be sending to you guys in my follow-up emails, but diving in here, you'll always be able to find more resources that can be helpful for y'all. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and